this meeting is being live streamed. Not just yet, Bina, not just yet. Yeah, it's scrolling. There we go. Yep, now we are live. Good morning,
Hello,
everybody.
good morning, and hello, Sil. Hello, everyone,
Mm,
whoever is out there. Today's it's after missing a day, we are here, and it's a bit slowish day. By slowish, I means that it is a day where I am more in absorbing mood. Sometimes you have that energy where you can absorb more, and sometimes you have the energy to reflect more. And today is the energy, which I found pretty interesting. It was like, okay, what's the point of life, and discussing some mellow things and like a bit melancholy kind of a mood. And then we discuss. But something interesting happened, uh, not an anomaly, but just a representation of focus and attention. Before coming here online, um, I had a discussion with my brother that what you are doing, and I said, okay, it's not needed, but I need to iron my dress. Okay, I was not going out; I was just sitting in my room and chilling. But it's still, I feel. I said, okay, no, but this particular thing, I need a bit. I want to do this, and I did. Nothing major, of course. It was just a normal, regular thing. And then we come and we were discussing, and it was a completely different discussion. And then Sil mentioned that, oh, iron is like, okay, it's a huge deal in some particular way he was sharing with his friend. And I said, yes. And then just after a few minutes, I was scrolling through my Facebook while Sil was discussing some other stuff, and a meme just popped up, and it was about all wrinkly people moving around with grumpy faces. And the title or the caption of that meme was "Before the Iron Age." I laughed. It was funny, but also
mm,
it was a connectivity, like a consecutive 3 time ironing, and okay, why? Of course, one can interpret things in many countless ways, whatever they want to. It's not specific to anything. And I was choosing to extract value from that. So my choice was to get value out of it. I don't
mm.
know that, okay, what other means can be. Of course, anyone can extract whatever they want to. For me, it was iron is not a need. Ironing is not a need, but it is just going beyond need and do more. And it can be about our thoughts, our way of being. We don't need that, but going
Yeah,
beyond the need and
yeah,
doing something more is the refinement. This is what spirituality is for me.
yeah.
Ironing your thoughts, make them smooth, ironing your way of
Mm,
being, ironing your
mm,
way of being, make it smooth, make it sophisticated. Yes, more sophisticated. And
mm.
also it goes to our emotions. What about ironing our emotions and making them smooth, ironing our feelings, ironing our
Yeah,
perceptions before putting it out. If we just put our vanity there and putting out and reflecting our emotions and feelings and perception and perspectives and even our words out, if we just take a power pause and do the ironing of those things, this is what impeccability also is for me. I'm saying it also for me. This is
yes,
very
yeah,
interesting. And I'm just practicing
yeah.
right now to do the takeaway, to do the repeat back, to apply my discernment, to apply my focus, to implement like really application of discernment and extracting value deliberately. This is what I'm doing.
Yes.
I mean, it could be a trivial thing. Of course, we all have countless things happen in our life on a daily basis, and
Mm,
is happening again. This is the magic of attention. It grabs my attention, and I said, okay, what about this? What I receive is just a one aspect of it because I choose to extract value from that. It can be completely
Exactly.
meaningless, and it can be so powerfully, magically wonderful for
Choice.
anyone else. They might,
Choice.
yes, they might create something out of it completely different. Of course, they can, and anyone can do this. My choice was to extract value from this ironing. Okay, so and this is what we, at least I try to do every single time. When we just iron our words, choices of words, our vocabulary, our emotions, our frustration, everything, just take a power pause and say that, okay, oh, before going out, I need to iron this. And when we iron our thoughts,
And
they become
emotions.
more digestible, more predictable. Yes, and of course, emotions. They will become more digestible. They will become more
Yeah,
adjustable. They will become more presentable for everyone.
yeah,
That roughness will go away.
yeah, yeah.
That rawness will go away.
Right, right. And
And then they
extracting
will
the
become
more.
deliberate choices.
Yeah. It's a crucial part of it all to extract that more. Extract. Extract means we have to go in, root around that, right? Extracting the more. That's why it's a big session in Way of Impeccability. It's a very different skill. And as you mentioned, Bina, this point about extracting the more and motivation and pointlessness. Yes, I can make a fantastic case for the pointlessness of life. Very, very convincing. But then when you realize, okay, life is pointless. Ah, oh, you're back again.
Hello?
Yes, you're back. You're back. You went just quickly, just went bing back, just dropping back on. It's amazing. Yeah, I didn't even think that you'd left.
Yes.
It's very fast. Um,
No,
this point about
it
pointlessness.
was paused. The picture was frozen. So,
Ah.
so
There's
please say it.
nothing, the most pointless thing is to immerse and focus on pointlessness.
Yes.
It's a way to break the cycle. But when we understand that, yes, life may be pointless and we can make a good case for it being pointless, let's assume life is pointless. Does that mean I have to experience it as pointless? No. There's a big distinction. This
Mm.
is where capital D discernment is so critical. Simply because life is pointless doesn't mean I have to experience it as pointless. That's my choice. When we understand the power of choice, means we can transform the pointless into the purposeful, the meaningful, the significant. This is the heart of Way of Impeccability. And the entire, since we're doing a go over of the reading, the entire new nobility culture, they are deeming things to be important, valuable, significant, deemed to be so. At the end of the day, it's all pointless, matters nothing. But if I get to experience it as non-pointless, wonderful. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Think of this from the perspective of a game, like an MMO, right? When I'm inside that game, this is a world that I'm running around on. Yes, right? The whole
Mm.
planet, maybe other planets, but all right, I'm on this planet running around. I can run around, go all the different places in the planet. I experience and interact with characters. They're called NPCs, which are like AI characters, right? Well, okay, it's primitive AI, but it's getting more and more, right? And they have their own lives. Now, I can have my life. I'm a sentient being within that game. Yes. And I
Mm.
may, let's assume I end up in a conversation with a NPC, with an AI. And this AI has their own life and philosophy and everything. When I turn the game off, what happens to that AI? It's gone.
Mm.
Yes, it might exist on a server out there somewhere, but me and my character and my interaction with that, it's gone. That's me. Yes, it may save the characteristics of my character, but that conversation, that life, whatever, is gone, right? It may carry on when I may start up the computer and it remembers where we last were and it continues. But until I start the game again, there's nothing happening between me and that character. That character may interact with somebody else. But when we understand this from a point of meaningfulness, it's only meaningful in the moment. As the moment the game gets switched off, well, and who knows what game we're living in, what wonderful reality. See, we don't know. We may be that NPC. We have no idea. The point is, when we start to look for pointlessness or pointfulness, we have to understand that it's up to us to make it purposeful and meaningful and significant. Yes, MPS, meaningful, purposeful, and significant. Right? This is up to us. It's our choice, and it's only now in the moment, because the moment the game gets turned off, well, then it doesn't matter. Right? And it really doesn't matter outside the game, whatever goes on in the game. There's no effect on what goes on outside the game. Now, very important point. This is the key point is choice. The key point is choice. We decide, we decide, we decide. Now, the new nobility, this is the core theme about capital C choice, choosing emotions, choosing what you focus on, choosing moreness, choosing to understand awareness, nobility, goodness, all of this stuff. All of this enhances the experience of life, not life itself necessarily. Because life itself may be that game. Totally meaningless. You switch it off, it doesn't make any difference to anybody anywhere. Right? I may be a character in who knows what, some alien kids game out there, right? I'm just a very, very sophisticated game, and I'm this AI that believes it's real. I don't know. Could be, right?
Yes.
It could be. I think I'm real. But the kid playing the games, man, this is like the ultimate game. Is very realistic, and man, they got all these characters, and they really think they're real, and they'll tell you all sorts of stuff, and they've written books, and they're doing, lives, and oh my God, this is like an incredible game. Yeah, but when it gets switched off, in other words, it's totally pointless. It's just amusement for the kid. Doesn't do anything. Makes no difference to them, because who knows what they in their life, what's going on over there. Right? We can't conceive some things. My point is, it makes no difference to me. It's the experience of it in the moment that counts. Whether it's pointless or not doesn't matter. Joy is never pointless.
Yes.
It's the experience of joy, not joy itself, not the thing itself. It's the experience of it, right? And that's what makes joy purposeful, significant, meaningful. It's the experiencing of joy. When we say joy, we imply we mean joy. But when I experience joy, scientifically, that could be an energy configuration of this and that frequency and all that. But that's just, maybe a bubble hovering. Oh, they're experiencing joy. You see, there's the joy. The scientists can say to, the other scientists, all right, yeah, we can see it, we can recognize it, we can measure it, blah, blah. Does it change the universe and their lives? No. It does for me, though. Right? Now, yes, joy may be a bit contagious, sure, but still. The point is that joy is not pointless, and the experiencing of joy is what makes joy MPS, meaningful, purposeful, and significant. Yes, and MPS also can stand for magic per second, moreness per second. Yes, MPS. That's the
Yes.
experiencing of it. That's the key. That's the key. It's very, very important. And life is pointless. You say, yeah, life may be pointless. Absolutely. The whole universe may be pointless, but joy isn't. I don't need the universe and life to experience joy. I can experience joy in my whole bubble. You can remove all of that, and I'm in my bubble of joy. Okay, I'm enjoying the joy. Cool. Does that help, Bina?
Yes, sort of. Sort of.
Yeah.
Why I'm saying that because
Oh, so 1 second. Joy. Norma says, such a joy to be here. Yes, capital J
okay.
joy, please, Norma. Yeah, capital
Thank
J
you,
joy.
Norma. And hello,
Yes.
Norma.
Hello.
Hello,
Hello,
Norma. Hello.
Norma. Yes. Hello, magical Norma. Hello. Hello. Glad you're here, Norma. Keep going, Bina. Keep going.
Okay, I was just okay. Why I was saying sort of because it's not that okay. I'm not understanding the point, but you asked me that okay, does it help? Because I was feeling that melancholic, like okay,
The
yes, the
pointlessness.
pointlessness,
Mm.
especially like okay, what's the point? What's the point? And I was just thinking because maybe my ego was feeling like okay, oh, I have nothing to do here, at least in this moment right now. And when we feel that okay, now ego is not doing much, then our ego will start feeling neglected and useless. And I say, okay, what's the point to be here? Maybe it's not just me, it is just my ego is feeling lonely, useless, neglected, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And and, and the point of joy is it's not something you can just say yes, okay, and then you can just have that. You need to deliberately immerse yourself into that by knowing it, by willingly doing it. And of course it might take a bit of time or an effort for me. Right
Yeah.
now in
Yeah.
this moment,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm feeling good that I have this opportunity where I can just share my thoughts without having any hesitation, and the person will try to extract what I'm saying and what I'm trying to understand, and then he or she, of course Norma is also here, and then they will share their perspective to help me to get more out of it. this
Mm.
is this is what joy is. This is the point right now, is the life is or universe is providing me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
On a
Yeah.
bigger picture, yes, sometimes we feel that okay, what's the point to do that? That was the same thought when I was being predicted by a horrible promise that okay, you are not going to live after that. And I was feeling like okay, what's the point of
Mm.
living even and doing some effort and then reading and then learning and all that. But then of course it changes and I say okay, yes, I'm the one who has this guarantee at least to live that till then.
Yeah.
And I changed
Perspective
that.
shifting. Perspective shifting.
Perfect
The
shifting.
magic of it.
Yes, it happens. It happened automatically, organically, at least as far as I understand it. But must be some trigger, some stimulation
Mm.
from external
Mm.
point perspective also. Anyway, what I was doing this, why I'm sharing and keep going on with this joy, because it's a very important thing. Again, the assumption is that okay, you must feel suddenly happy because you are talking about joy and all these things.
Mm.
I am feeling joy, I'm feeling happy, but it's not cheerfulness.
Mm.
Again, just a reminder that just to make the obvious more obvious,
Sober
that
joy.
happiness is not a cheerfulness. Happiness is
Correct.
not sting with laughter.
Correct.
Happiness
Neither is
can be
joy.
very
Right.
subtle. It can be
Oh
very
yeah.
subtle and
Oh
sober, and like watching a very serious movie. We feel happy because we are having our own time. If we like that, we enjoy that. That
yeah.
enjoyment, that
Yeah.
feeling satisfied in that moment, when feelings receptive in those moments is what happiness is. This is what joy is for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes, right now I'm going through that phase, and yes,
Yeah.
it helped me
Yeah.
to shift my focus.
Right. 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 Very powerful. You bring up some powerful thoughts for me. I have a little story for you. A little very
Yes,
mini story. Right.
yes.
Ego. Ego. Yes. 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 What? I have some good news for you, Ego. Oh, good. Okay. Well, good news for Ego means is what? Ego's a bit suspicious. Well, Ego, I want to tell you that you're a champion. Oh, yes, I'm a champion. Yes. Oh, now Ego's all happy. Yes. What am I champion of? What am I champion? Ego, you are a champion of pointlessness. Wonderful. I'm a champion. Does Ego care that it's a champion of pointlessness? Not at all. Ego's thrilled. I'm a champion. I'm a champion. Yes, Ego, you are brilliant at pointlessness. You're also, Ego, you're not only are you a champion of pointlessness, to illustrate this, I'll prove it to you because don't just take my word for it, right? You are a champion at avoiding the awful truth. Yes, I'm a champion at it. Ego doesn't care. It's a champion
Hmm.
at it, right? Ego's thrilled to be a champion of avoiding the awful truth. And this is what makes ego itself pointless, therefore a champion of pointlessness. Does ego care that it's by it being a champion of pointlessness makes it self-pointless? Does it care? No. So when we understand ego to have this kind of a programming loop that it can be thrilled at being a champion of pointlessness. And what does ego really do for us for the most part? It's all its activities are typically very pointless, no?
Hmm.
But that's understanding ego. If you understand that ego is a champion of pointlessness, then you
Hmm.
get ego. And the fact that ego is thrilled to be a champion of pointlessness. As long as it's a champion, doesn't matter about what.
Hmm.
Hmm. Isn't that
Hmm.
something, Bina? Isn't that something?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when I say ego, you're a champion of pointlessness, it doesn't get it. But when I say you're a champion of avoiding the awful truth, it still doesn't get it. But we get it. Because by me saying you're a champion of pointlessness and you don't get it, means you're avoiding the awful truth. Because the awful truth is that you're pointless, ego. See? So the two go together. The two go together, right? See? Champion of
Yeah.
both. Champion of both. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that really, really astonishing with ego. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But when we really understand this about ego, that ego is a program construct, it's an artificial little AI that's got its own agenda, and it's a very
Hmm.
peculiar and pathetic agenda. It's a pointless agenda, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Ego is synonymous to me with pointlessness. But we can use it though, because eh, now I've made my ego happy, and if my ego's happy, I'm happy. But if my ego's unhappy and it's stressing and fighting me, then I got trouble. Yeah. All right, ego, you're a champion of pointlessness.
Whatever.
But then ego's happy and it leaves me alone. It doesn't bother me. Managing our aspects. Ego's an aspect. Yeah. Yeah. It's very powerful to manage them like this, right? It's like that little AI. Some programmer put that AI into your game and it gave the AI, certain programming instructions, and the AI
Mhm.
has to fulfill that. But that doesn't mean that you cannot leverage them. And you can. Absolutely. You can make them work for you or they can work against you. Very much in the way if you read robot stories, right? Then you have the three laws of robotics that Isaac Asimov came up with, and then how people got around those robot laws, because the laws of robotics that you can't do harm to another human and so on, all right, but they use those in very creative ways to essentially manipulate the robots and break the laws because the robots were limited and they couldn't do things, right? So, like for instance, you need the robot to break the law. Now, the robot can't break the law. That's its programming. But it says the higher law to the robot is that it can't allow life to be harmed. Yes. So I put myself in a situation where, in order to prevent me from coming under harm, the robot has to break the law. See? Now I know that I'm not going to kind of, let's say I'm standing underneath a falling thing, right? And I know the robot has to break through the glass in order to push me out of the way. I know the robot's going to do this and I'm not under real harm, but the robot can't take that chance. So it has to break one of its laws in order to satisfy the other law. And I get the robot to break the glass, which is what I wanted it to do in the first place. I said, just break the glass for me. No, I can't break the law. It's breaking the glass. See what I mean? So we can be creative when it comes to AI. Now, all right, I don't mean it to use it for criminal points, but let's just assume that I had to get in there to do something that's important, and it's hard to explain to the robot, and they can't get it, and they're too narrow to see it. Right? I'm acting ethically,
Yes.
in other words, right? I'm just saying though, I'm using it as an illustration of how we have internal AI or robotic programs and they can
Hmm.
be stuck, and they can be very limiting, but we can get creative in managing them, like with ego, right? And say, ego, what would be the most brilliant thing to do? You want to be the most special person in the world. It would be to
Hmm.
be a person who has no self-importance. Yes, 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 let's do that. Let's do that.
Hmm.
We want to be the best person in the world. We want to be special. We want to be special. Yes, let's get rid of self-importance. Ego doesn't really understand that it is essentially looking to erase itself. But it gets all excited because you framed it in the
Yes.
motivation that ego has. That's it. So
Hmm.
it's just leveraging ego. You can make ego work against itself by leveraging its motivation, right? Stubbornness. Let's be stubborn about being receptive. Yes, 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 says Mr. Stubborn or Mr. Stubborn. Oh, let's be stubborn about being receptive. What a fantastic thing to be stubborn about, right? Let's be stubborn
Hmm.
about being impeccable. Genius. See, leverage, leverage, leverage. It's an incredible, incredible skill to understand and be able to utilize things in this way. And we have all of these little sub programs inside us. We just need to learn to use them appropriately. Yeah. Work,
Hmm.
get them to work for us rather than against us. It's an incredible
Hmm.
thing. Incredible thing. Yes, Bina?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Managing the inner
Absolutely.
aspects. This started for me with, I call it managing Mr. A. My A is like, like my accountant side, or right. There's other words for A too. I'll refrain from saying them for Bina's sake. But Mr. A is very precise, very accurate. So you could say, has to be everything neat and tidy and organized and exact. And so Mr. A, if Mr. A runs away with itself, it can get overly fussy and pedantic, and essentially you can lead to OCD, right? Obsessive
Hmm.
compulsive disorder. That's when
Hmm.
Mr. A has basically, because it's a program and it looks to do more and more, and it doesn't understand balance and excess. So unless you give it a frame in which to say uh, where order is appropriate, you need to frame it in a different category. To say, yes, when things are too stiff and too accurate, this is great from a stiffness and accuracy point of view. But have you considered, Mr. A, that it's not orderly when it comes to joy? Oh, I never thought of that. Yes. So now Mr. A says, well, yes, we want to be neat and accurate and tidy, but for the purpose of enhancing joy. And there's a limit to it. Too much disorder and you have no joy. Too much order and things become clinical and stale and boring. Yeah. See, so there's
Yes.
a balance. Yes. Now Mr. A is super happy because now Mr. A has exact instructions and is to find that precise balance point. Genius. Right now, Mr. A is working for me. Now I can have order and also be messy, both at the same time. Yeah.
Yes.
And now when I say put this in the context of impeccability, I say, oh, Mr. A, it's about best use of energy. Ah, now Mr. A is my greatest ally ever. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Managing Mr. A. That's where all the aspects started in Mr. A. And then I just extended it to other aspects. But that's where it started for me, managing Mr. A. Because I have a powerful Mr. A in me. We all do, but some of us more than others. Yes, yes.
Yes.
I heard that laugh. I heard that laugh. No, no triple Virgo jokes. But see, it's but here's the point though. Bina calls me a triple Virgo because I've got, I don't know what it means technically, but I'm like, I guess whatever my chart says, I'm triple Virgo, which means, as from that topic, yeah, Mr. A now, it's a serious thing in my life. But of course, it can be a profound negative if you don't manage it, right? And you could be a pain in the backside. But I don't iron my shirt.
Ah,
Yeah, see,
yes. Yes. Okay.
because I understand it from an energy efficiency point of view. I
Yes.
don't care. It doesn't matter to me if I walk around with a bit of a crease in my shirt. It's not the end of the world. And on Zoom, it's like, can you see that I've got a crease shirt on? No, you can't. So like,
Yes.
yeah. Oh,
Yes.
you
Yes.
can see? Oh, you can
Yes.
see?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, oh,
So
oh. There.
assumptions.
See? Look.
Assumptions.
Look. It's ironed now. See? How's that?
Yes.
See?
Okay, I have just sent you a meme which I posted long ago, but it's about it sounds appropriate right now, and
Wow.
because we were discussing ego, and this is one of my favorite
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
ego memes. One of my
Yes.
favorite
What are
ego memes.
we? Egos. And what do we want? Problems. Why? To be victims. And are you enjoying? Yes, exactly. Exactly. Because
Okay.
ego is believed that being a victim has value. It's just the
Yes.
association. The thing itself
Okay.
has no inherent value. The belief in it does.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to eat now,
All right.
and
Right.
yes, and
In
goodbye.
other words, right. I'm gonna read and go over the story, and then hopefully you'll come and we'll chat some on it.
Yes. Yes.
The
Yes.
the the point to this, Bina, is that we are go ahead. I'll just elaborate while you go. We are ascribers of value,
Yes.
right? We need to
Yes.
understand this. Belief is the ascription of value.
Yes. Oh wow. Okay. Can you
Norma,
please write it down?
yes, I was going to ask Norma to do that, but I'll do it. It's okay.
Okay.
Belief
Okay.
is,
I'm eating.
yeah, all right. Okay. Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. Yeah. And that I shall add that quote to my quote file. There's probably something similar in it there somewhere, but I like this way of saying it. Yeah. At least also it is the ascription of perceived value. Yes. Yeah. Maybe I should edit that because that's kind of a little different. Yeah. I'll put perceived in brackets actually because it's both, right? It is we get actual value out of our beliefs, but it also is perceived value. This is a very powerful quote. Yeah, yeah. I think this is a Biella quote. This is something Biella would say. All right, all right. Very good. Let's add that to my quote file. See, when these things come up, by the way, just as a good practice. See, this is my quote file here. It's a long, great, big, huge file. I mentioned it before, as you can see from the scroll bar here, how much there is to it. Tons of stuff. But I added in here because these are all things that the characters in my books will say. And at some point, I'll take that quote and I'll add it into the story somewhere, or put it as a quote in at the start of a chapter or somewhere. Or I'll just publish, well, not or, and also I'll just publish this as a book, standalone book of Biella series quotes, which is the name of the file. Very useful. And sometimes when I need something, I just do the search, like, all right, let's take belief, you see, and let's look up belief and see what we get. If I spell it right. Um, right. Well, there's a young man's story called Narrowness, Belief Not Required. It's the name of a book. Um, can belief be regained? That's an article in Ask Biella, a book that I'll publish soon. The need to prove one's beliefs usually accompanies an underlying doubt. If you see somebody making a big effort to prove their beliefs, that's usually because they have a doubt of that very belief, right? So they're going about saying, this is it, right? Prove in inverted commas, right? They're pushing this supposed proof because they have underlying doubt. It's just the way the mind works. It's quite powerful, a powerful understanding. I enjoy believing in the impossible and have always done so. Over the years, many of those impossible beliefs actually came true. And now I find myself wondering what is truly impossible. The young man. Very powerful young man quote. Anyway, I mean, we could spend the whole day going through this quote file. That just was a quick aside there. I want to get back to the story. Such a joy that you are here, Norma. Such a joy, such a joy. All right, Biella Noble, chapter 9. We're going to go through it as a capital R reading. And the starting opening quote. And by the way, these opening quotes, they are there to connect to the ineffable, the greatness, the bigger picture, the moreness. Beliefs create, exactly. And when we understand belief as an act of creation, it changes. Unfortunately, for most people, they think of beliefs as a way in which they understand reality. No, a belief is not reality. A belief is how you've ascribed a meaning to reality, or how you've decided to create your particular reality. Precisely. Precisely. Beliefs are just an act of creation until you know it's true or not. And even then, it's very hard to know what really is true. In the end, we have to understand that everything is belief, truly. It's like that character in the game. What's reality for that character? When you're in the game, yes, I'm fighting monsters and, doing all sorts of stuff. That's game reality. But, the moment I take my headset off and look away from the screen, okay, yes, dear, now you know, I've got the reality of the situation around me to deal with, right? Different to the screen reality. Yeah, realities within realities. Yeah, yeah. Very, very powerful comment, Norma. Wonderful. All right, the quote here is, for the new nobility, it's all about developing awareness, enhancing awareness. But it's not a cold intellectual exercise, as some think this is. Awareness is some cold. No, nonsense. Nonsense. Right? If you're more aware of your feelings and emotions, like now, we aware of belief in a different way to what we may have been a few seconds ago. To me, this awareness that belief is an act of creation, an act of ascription, ascribing, right? Which means I say how it is, has an incredible life-changing awareness. This makes my life easier, more simpler, more useful, more valuable, more easily connected to joy. Point and purpose of everything, joy. Yeah. No, it's the exact opposite. The more aware we become, the more we connect. The more we connect, the more we appreciate. Suddenly awareness, right? Developing awareness and enhancing awareness, cold intellectual exercise. But wait a second. The more we appreciate, appreciation is not cold. Appreciation very warm, right? The more we are able to be appropriate. What's more appropriate than feeling joyful? The more we feel, the more we live. The more we are centered in our being, the more complete our being, the closer we get to joy. Yes? See? See how it all makes sense, all useful, all valuable? Value, 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 value. Awareness brings capital V value. It's why being, the promotion of being, is the mandate of the new nobility. Being is now. Being is connected. When we are immersed in connecting to everything, our inner, our outer, our environment, our community, nature, the world, the greater flow, the abstract, and ultimate, the infinite, that's when we are truly being. That's when we are fully, fully alive. That's when everything is awesome. That's when we are immersed in appreciation, immersed in moreness, and that is when we experience the additional effects of appreciation, such as rapture, bliss, elation, grace, and more. Now, you see how things pop up when we are immersed in appreciation. I want to add that in when we are immersed in moreness. Yeah. where that's when we are immersed in appreciation, when we are immersed in moreness. And that is when we experience the additional effects of appreciation. Right? It's all about feeling, 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 feeling. Right? You can go a little beyond joy to things like rapture, bliss, elation, grace, and more. I didn't put ecstasy in there because of the drug. People think it's like, oh, I'm promoting drugs. Different spelling, by the way, the drug and the word. Right? Yeah, but but anyway, ecstasy needs to be in there as a superlative. Yeah, yeah. I love those superlatives. All right. Let's get back to our story and start unraveling a bit of our story. This story is somewhat of an interlude, and it is because we're a bit rough in there in focusing on the superiority paradigm with Comelius. Not wildly fun, we're looking at that, but it's important that we have an awareness of that. Otherwise, this just becomes a what Comelius fears it is, a blind, idealistic society that's ignorant and naive. They're nothing of the sort. They absolutely understand the real world, and they understand criminality and nastiness and horror and brutality and all of the stuff. They know it, they understand it, they're able to deal with it also, right? Simply because you are choosing to be involved in sophistication and moreness and goodness and joy and all of these superlative wonderful things doesn't mean you are naive and ignorant. Not at all. They are extremely sophisticated, extremely, right? And they are so sophisticated that they are able to maintain their innocence despite being ridiculously sophisticated. They do both at the same time. Right, so this interlude shows a whole different characteristics, and we get to see the interaction a little bit too with some of um, the other aspirants, right? Like Nora and Aki and that. And in the next chapter, we're going to see even more. And it's very cool. It's very cool. Oh, not in this chapter. We don't see it in this chapter. It's in the next chapter. But nonetheless, we get a little bit of a view of Nobelia and how it works, and just extra information that supports the story as a whole. As Biella, Comelius, and Ursula reached the bottom of the slope along the riverbank, the trees cleared. Right? It's 3 people, not 2. Without that comma, it's then Comelius and Ursula would be their own little group, and Biella's on her own, right? But they're not walking that way. That's what people think. This comma in front of the and it's called an Oxford comma. A lot of people say it's not necessary. It makes all the difference in the world if you understand how it works. There's no argument to it. It's like this great debate: use the Oxford comma or not. If you understand what it is, it's not a debate, people. Right? There's 2 different things. And actually, I always maintained this. I wrote a big article about it once because it's just about discernment and dearness. And there's a court case in which, in the contract, they left out the Oxford comma, thinking it's okay, and it means a different thing. And then they got sued, and they had to pay a lot of money because of what they said in the contract. Yeah. So yeah, they make a difference. They make a difference. All right. As Biella, Comelius, and Ursula reached the bottom of the slope along the riverbank, the trees cleared. Right? They found themselves looking up the bank, sloping upwards and away from them, fairly sharply, along a steep cliff face, dropping off into the water of the river. The upward slope of the bank leveled off high above them, for a considerable difference, with beautiful large canopied trees providing ethereal silhouettes along the top edge of the extended bluff. I want to create this image of they down right next to the river on the kind of little bit of a beach there, I guess, looking up at these cliffs, right? And then there's this path cut into the cliff that they're going to get on. But it goes on for a long way. I want to create this environment, right? This idea that they looking through this cliff coming down into the river. The cliff face was not vertical, but sloped away at about a 20-degree angle. Right, so it's not 100% vertical, it leans a little bit. Biella smiled at them and pointed. The admin officers, he said, and laughed teasingly. Before they could say where, Biella said, come, just follow me. They can't see it just yet, right? But they will. It's about the experience. And Biella is taking them along this very deliberately so that they can experience the intent of the new nobility. And one of their intents is moreness. They don't mess about. They do everything with moreness, purpose to it, right? Joy at the end result, value, right? She proceeded up the riverbank a ways and veered onto a ledge cut into the cliff face. A fairly wide, evidently well-traveled path, artfully shaped so as not to be visible from the base of the slope. Right now, just think about this, right? They were standing at the bottom and they looked up and they saw the slope, but you didn't see the path cut into the slope. This was right, artfully shaped. In other words, there's a deliberate intent not to have it so, because when you're standing at the bottom, you want to get the natural view, right? You don't want to have all parts artificial, right? So they're preserving the natural view, and it's all beautiful. And then, but there's the usefulness, so it's artfully shaped so that you don't see it, right? From the base, obviously, when you're on it, you see it, or from above, maybe, but still from the base. When you're walking along the river or taking a boat down the river, you won't see that. You'll just have a nice, beautiful, unspoiled nature. Right. The cliff face extended a long way out in front until disappearing with a bend far ahead. Not flat, however. Gentle curves undulated as it stretched further toward the river and then back again. So you've got this cliff face meandering along with the river on the side of it, right? And it's a long thing. It's really, it goes in and out. It's very cool. There's a lot to it, in other words, not just a short thing. The ledge at a somewhat steep angle, but not uncomfortably so. So the ledge isn't just like vertically to look, and it's like you're looking and you were looking at like a vista point for the river. No, it's going up somewhere, right? As they gained height, the view increased considerably, opening the vista to see the far side bank. So it's a fairly wide river that you couldn't quite see. You could maybe see the bank, but not clearly. But now you're a little higher, you can see clearly. A gorgeous woodland stretched beyond the river. The variety of trees incredible, all shapes and sizes, clusters spread out with grass and flowers, various shrubs and plants in between. And the point here is this view is about as ideal a view from a nature point of view as one can create. Yes? Or one can have, right? That's why it's there. This is one of the reasons for it. It's maximizing, and well, we'll get later in that view didn't come about just naturally like that. It's, yes, some of it is, but it's also enhanced, right? So over the centuries, additional trees were planted, clusters, and so it's natural but enhanced nature. In other words, very powerful. Low flowing slopes led to hillocks which fed into hills, and eventually to mountains which sided the enormous valley they looked into, running away from them along the horizons. No end in sight to the valley when looking directly across the river. As they moved higher up the cliff face, more and more valley came into view. Can you imagine this view, Norma, Bina, if you're listening while you're eating? I hope so. I hope so. That you're looking across this river, this large, nice, beautiful river, right? And you're seeing this entire valley stretching up, the gradual slope, mountains on either side. On the horizons, essentially, there's mountains. You're seeing this massive, beautiful valley. It's the most brilliant view that goes on forever that you can see. Yeah. They began to make out what could be buildings, but couldn't be sure. The buildings looked more like crafted trees, or very dense clusters, maybe. Definite spire-like structures gradually appeared, which fed that perception. An eye fest beyond glorious. Now later, oh, brilliant, Norma, brilliant, brilliant. Now later, we are going to understand and come to know that some of those clusters are indeed um, uh, spires or things that you can live in, but they trees that have been shaped and grown in such a way that they create spaces within them. Not hollowed out trees, no, specifically grown to shape this, right? And there's more. We're going to have the trees come into it in a big way later on with with the giant trees, the really truly giant trees. Yeah, yeah, and they're singing and everything. All right. Ursula and Comelius both stopped as soon as they came to a short, level portion of the ledge, a vista point, in other words, barely breathing, so affected by the sight which greeted them. Ursula sighed the deepest sigh and shuddered with joy. Comelius beamed, singing, his joy unconstrained. Biella shone, glowing with joy at seeing her friends so enthralled. The magic of sharing infusing her being entirely. Now, now look at this from a writing point of view and a communication point of view. Yes, those last two sentences. They don't need to be here, right? I could just say, well, Ursula and Comelius were enjoying. But this makes a point about the new nobility psychology. Biella is enthralled. Yes, she enjoys the view too, but she's enthralled at this joy, this first moment, this new experience, because it's always the best the first time, or usually, right? It's like so powerful, so overwhelming to see her friends enthralled and enjoying, and so this completely just envelops her because the magic of sharing is so powerful. When you have this ability to feel joy from someone else's joy, it's an incredible, profound ability. Yeah. Oh, yes, Norma, you're going to hear about those enormous roots of the giant trees. It's a whole couple of chapters that involve these giant trees. So I don't want to give it away. You just have to wait. And the roots come into it too. Absolutely. Big deal. Big deal. Big deal. Glorious. So glorious, she whispered to the wind. Thank you, world. Again, I'm illustrating, I'm showing, I'm demonstrating the new nobility psychology and mindset. Yes, she thanks the world. The world is a very real entity to Biella. Yes, thanks the world out loud. Right? Biella imbibed her friends, taking them into herself. Time suspended. She would stand there all day and the next if needed and more. Consideration, deep, deep consideration for others. But she would in no way hasten them or make them feel any need to do anything else other than enjoy. Right there, right then. Right? This is about the appropriateness of the situation. You don't want to say, oh, come, we've got to go to the admin office, we've got to register. No. However long it takes for them to absorb and enjoy that, you don't want to spoil that. However long that moment takes, doesn't matter. Yeah. Very, 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 very profound. Sounds like Christmas for children. In a way, yes. In a way, yes. The new nobility have this in their life regularly, every day. Every day. Every day is Christmas for them, or Universe Day as they call it, which is a profound celebration of life and everything. Yes, every single day. Again, I'm illustrating Nobelia, the nobility mindset, the new nobility mindset, their attitudes, their sophistication, their belief structure, their consideration, everything, right? Now look how it comes here. Very simple thing. Others using the ledge retracted their awareness into anonymity as they passed by, understanding what was happening, right? I mean, this is a path up to the admin offices, so people are coming and going. It's a well-traveled path, as we heard earlier. But when they come by, they retract their awareness. What a sophisticated, skillful thing to do. In other words, if I retract my awareness, I'm not going to force you to even acknowledge me. Right? I become anonymous and I can just walk by and there's no need for you to be polite and say hello and greet, nod. No, I can stay immersed in the view and the feeling and the experience. And afterwards you say, oh, the people coming by, oh, what people that came by? Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah. But you see, not a factor. They don't impinge. And that word impinge here, I'm not just using fancy vocabulary. It's the only word that's appropriate here. It's a precise word. They don't impinge on your experience. What consideration? An incredible, polite, courteous, beautiful gift of consideration. It's a gift. Yeah? It's a gift because they have to actively retract their awareness. They have to make an effort to do so. Makes it a gift. Most immerse themselves in experience on a regular basis. You know, there's a very popular walk. I mean, some of those people might not be going to the admin office, they might just be going for a walk. It's a very popular walk, right? Because as you go up this path, because it's a steep path and the cliff face is very high, right? The higher you go, the more is revealed of the view. So initially you get one view, and then it keeps changing, it grows, it expands, it's more, it's experience. And as you go around the bends of the cliff, right, you see what's in the hollow, and then you go around another one, and then you see a different. Now you have the view on the left hand side too. Well, in this case they're walking up towards the right. Yeah, so just in my mind, they could be walking the other way, but that's just how it is, right? Um, at least in the way I wrote it, I didn't specify that, but somebody may imagine going the other way. But nonetheless, you got the two views. You got the views of the cliffs themselves, especially when you come to a corner and you can see ahead of you the thing dipping. When it's kind of more or less straightish, you see behind you if you're coming to the tip of the curve. But once you go around it, then you can see in front of you. You can see more cliff, so you get multiple views. And then of course you got more view of the river going further down, and whatever's on the river, right? If there's stuff on the river. Let's see. Most immerse themselves in experience on a regular basis and simply shared the joy as they went by without projecting any implied comment, thereby preserving the extended moment. Extreme, exquisite sophistication without projecting any implied comment. If I walk by and you're experiencing something, any comment I make, it it it's going to connect to you, and you somehow it's going to, not somehow, but it's going to have an effect. It's going to influence or interfere or be something to be taken into consideration with. No, they retreat that. Your experience here, especially as a first timer, it's yours and yours alone, not to be taken away from, right? So without projecting any implied comment like, oh, isn't that wonderful? Then you go say, yes, it is. Yeah, it breaks your immersion in it when you got to say, yes, it's wonderful. Very sophisticated, very skilled. Santa Biella, yes, exactly. Absolutely. Unwrapping, yes, yes. They unwrapping this gift, this present from the world, from the new nobility, those who created it, right? And they constantly creating stuff like this. Yeah. I would love to wake up to this view, Comelius said. Yes, me too, Ursula agreed. Biella smiled at them both rather mysteriously, but didn't elaborate. Moving along the ledge instead, they proceeded higher, coming to a gentle curve in the cliff face. As they rounded this curve, they again stopped. Now they're seeing the cliff ahead of them, right? As you round the curve, yeah, you can now see a cliff in the curve. When the cliff curves back again, you see it in that hollow of the cliff. Yeah. The cliff face now revealed to them stretched away in a large sweeping curve, making a large bay for the river. Almost the entire cliff face festooned by flower arrangements of various shapes and sizes. Trailing vines and creepers marched across the cliff face, connecting flowering groups, seemingly holding it all together in a tender embrace. Again, by implication, an exquisite deliberateness of exquisiteness. Yes. Somebody, some group, right? Somewhere along the line, people have gone to a great amount of effort to make things exquisite, obviously, right? You get this whole cliff face. Uh, it could be natural, but because of it's so much, and so it's unlikely. At least it's in utilization of nature. Comelius and Ursula took a while to make the connection. The flower concentrations laid out in a semi-geometric order. In other words, they seeing this is going around windows, but the way it's designed is that you don't see reflections of the windows, and that some of the vines will trail over it. Like when you inside you have like a window, and then you got a patio. The trails will go on the edge of the patio. You can see out fine, but from a distance, it's going to disguise that somewhat, right? And so you won't see it. And so it looks like this beautiful tableau of flowers and vines and everything. You don't immediately see, oh, but there's, windows and balconies and stuff and all that, right? Right. But then when they pay attention, why, they're balconies, Ursula exclaimed. So they are, Comelius agreed, having come to the same conclusion. Artfulness, in other words, right? Combining practicality and artfulness. You can have all those balconies there and you can enjoy the view. But what about the reverse view of the cliff? See, that thoughtfulness, new nobility thoughtfulness. Very, very deep, very powerful. Again, this chapter is to show the reader some of the new nobility sensibilities, artfulnesses, morenesses, right? Their sophistication, their moreness, their attitudes, their mindsets, etc. Welcome to the administration offices, Biella said, in a most out-of-place officious tone. I'm not reading that in that out-of-place officious tone. I always forget to do that, shifting them into laughter. But you can just imagine, Biella suddenly being all stuffy and officious. Like, welcome to the administration offices, or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like just having fun. But more accurately, welcome to Cliff City. It's a whole city in the cliff, right? Biella added. And we're going to come back to Cliff City later on, right? Not just yet. The cliffs go on beyond the horizon. So it's a long thing, right? All along this cliff. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Who's messaging me? Oh, thank you, Bina. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. Most
Okay,
exciting.
yes.
Most
Yes.
exciting. Most exciting. Cryptic clues from Bina there. See, but I got it. All I did was I just hovered my mouse, you see, Bina, and then I saw there. So fantastic. Fantastic. The cliffs go. Were you listening?
Yeah.
All right. I was saying, this chapter is to show and reveal this exquisiteness, the sophistication, the caring, the moreness, the artistry, and that focus on joy of the new nobility. Yes, and of course they combine it with practicality, because we have to be careful of joy. The pursuit of joy at the expense of vulnerability is a pursuit leading to collapse and implosion. Right?
Yes.
The pursuit of joy at the expense of vulnerability is a pursuit leading to collapse and implosion.
Yes.
So we have to understand this. In other words, you can't just be in your bubble of joy. Like, for instance, you just taking drugs all the time. Yes, I'm I, but you can easily be robbed, murdered, taken advantage of, die of hunger, thirst, whatever. See, you're vulnerable. So it's not an ideal thing. You have to have both taken care of. Right? And I want to show all of their care, that how they take things to the end, right? Not just in thinking things through to the end, but in everything they do, they go to the end as much as they can. This section, and there are a few more around the next curves, form an extensive city by Nobelia standards. Here are many of the living quarters, workshops, studios, laboratories, and so on. Everything which isn't particularly suited to the outdoors. Many open living spaces are available. You are both welcome to choose any which are vacant. Look at what Biella does here. She's making this offer available to them now as simply friends of hers. Right? For instance, Comelius is not going to, he's just tagging along at this point. He's not going to the offices to register as an aspirant. Yet she says to Comelius, you can choose this. Ursula may change her mind, and Biella knows this, but she's making this offer, right? That's just how they are. If anybody has this ability to do so, if deemed appropriate. In this case, appropriate, right? Excessive living space was built into Nobelia from the very beginning, so that you have this access and that you're not confined to just one living place, right? That you have multiple, you can go, because this is an ideal in our life. Plus, because of their visiting arrangements, you can go anywhere on the planet, you got a place to stay. Now, it actually gets a little more complicated than this. because you say, yeah, but what about like really special places? Right? Well, Meteora, to take Meteora as an example, right? Uh,
Yes.
the Meteora is a monastery on top of this tall column of rock inside a big canyon. It's a very unique location. Yes, makes
Mhm.
for a wonderful place to stay. Now, you could say, yeah, but who gets to decide who stays on Meteora? Everybody wants to have this as a second home. All right, it's maybe a bit isolated, but I have my home in Cliff City where I spend most of my time, and because there's a lot of stuff going on, and I've got my studio here or whatever, right? And it's interaction with people, right? But Meteora, it's a bit out the way. It's hard to come by. You can, have to climb up the stairs or whatever. It's not easy to get to. But still, I want it as my vacation home. So they say on those special places that everybody wants, right? Look, in Cliff City, you pick one apartment, another, it goes on for miles. It doesn't really matter, right? There's not a premium on them,
Mm.
but the premium spots on Nobelia, they say, oh, how do we get to decide? Now, on Earth, of course, in our society, those premium places are decided by wealth, yeah, and
Mm.
and inheritance, right? So somebody way back when their ancestor claimed this hill and said, or this mountain, whatever, and there you go, they've got their castle on it and it belongs to the family, and that's it, right? So you don't have access to those special places. On Nobelia you do. What they do with places like Meteora or whatever, the castle, whatever, they put them up in a raffle. Yes, and if you want to go and stay at in Meteora, you put your name into the raffle, and it says, fine, you got awarded a week stay or a weekend stay or whatever. Now, those of course are very valuable. I might not choose to stay. I can gift mine or trade them to say, wow, I got the raffle. I won the raffle for Meteora, but I don't actually want Meteora. I want to go in Neuenstein, a very famous castle, Neuenstein, right? So I can trade you. You say, oh, I haven't been to Meteora, I've been to New. Okay, so the trade in the winning raffles are a very, very high, big deal thing, right? Or if like I want somebody to do me a favor, say, oh, okay, you know what? Yes, if you do this for me, I'll give you the. All right. So there's a lot of it's currency, in other words. But think of the logic of it.
Mm.
Even if you don't use it, that's just a bit of an aside that it's kind of a currency. But think of the genius of this, right? Where now the entire society gets to share in all these special places. Now, over the course of a lifetime, you can't possibly stay in all of them anyway, right? You may have your favorites and you can trade for those that really appeal to you, but you will get to stay in a significant percentage of them. Over the course of a lifetime, how many of you go every weekend, for instance, and you go to one of these special places? That's a lot of special places. It's 52 a year. Yeah, 520 in 10 years. 1,020. 2,000 in 40 years. 3,060. That's a lot of places to go to, right? Yeah. Oh, Lindsay's here. Hey, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Hello, Lindsay. Hello, hello, hello. Ah, I'm so happy that you're here, Lindsay. Fantastic, fantastic. Lindsay, I'm doing the read through, the go over of the chapter that I read on Sunday. And when we do these go overs, we're doing a capital R reading, we go background, we're explaining. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm sharing about the logic of how on Nobelia they treat special places, right? And that everybody wants to have and be in. And especially since they have an excess of dwelling space, where you're encouraged to have multiple houses or places to stay. But really, your main one where your habit is that you're locked in, yes, okay. But the others are, right, if somebody really wants it, oh, go ahead. I'll find another one. It's not critical. But there are those special places, and like I said, those get put up for raffle. It's very powerful. And there's many situations where they do this type of a logic, where they put this moreness into it. They're very considerate in this way. Do you like this idea, Bina, of raffling these sites off and staying in them? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And some of them
Yes.
are not even to stay. Some of them are just like you go for a few hours even, or like it's just a vista point maybe even. So this is just, it's a way of sharing the smallness, because there's so much magic on earth, but so much of it is inaccessible to us because somebody owns it. you know it seems a bit of a tragic waste, yeah. So it's a very marvelous system, very marvelous system of making this available to everybody. I love it. I love that you're here, Lindsay. I love that you're here. So please share any comments. Right, again, this chapter is, they're just going up to the offices, but in between, hidden in the things, are demonstrations of the psychology, right? uh, the population has been stable for a long time now, but when it was growing, the housing was expanded regularly to stay way ahead of demand. One of the biggest problems in societies is lack of living space. It creates a distortion. And when
Mm.
you think of it now, what is the most expensive thing that people spend their money on? Living space, right? It completely distorts your income. Yeah. Everything gets based on just paying space to stay. Yeah. Whereas if you have a society like this that invested in the infrastructure ahead of time, and there's always enough, can you imagine if we had excess living quarters, the price of rentals would drop like crazy. Yes. And think of then how much you would have people spending money on disposable incomes. The boom to your economy would be like crazy, because now people have more money to spend. It would spiral upwards, right? You're spending that money faster. Money in rental tends to be a bit stagnant. It's a slow moving money. It's not fast moving. Yeah. Anyway, that's a deeper economic point, but they don't have that typical economy on Nobelia anyway. So you're living on a company, like when you have a company town. I don't know if you've ever experienced company towns, right? Like a mine, that's a bit remote, right? And it's its own little world, right? They have their own stores, barbers, shops, everything, but everything's owned by the company, right? So the hairdresser is an employee of the company. They don't have a separate business. You're employed to be a hairdresser for the entire town, or for, like on a military base. You go to the barber. Me, when I was in the military, I didn't pay to have my hair cut. It's just part of the thing. Whenever I want to go, the barber cuts my hair. That's it. End of story, right? It's a free service. And same with the food. Yeah, when it's meal times, I go and I queue up at the mess hall. I go in and I eat. Yeah, so those chefs and that, they're all employed by the army, right? And same thing, transport. I was the driver. I drive. Nobody paid me. So it's and the same thing with company towns. You have this as well, right? And this is what I'm saying. When you think of Nobelia as an extended company town, it's a company planet. So of course everything is taken care of. You're an employee of the company, and that's it. Everything is taken care of. It's part of the deal. Wonderful system. Wonderful system. New nobles are encouraged to have multiple living spaces, some serving as communal stop and go spaces. If ever you find yourself away from, okay, this communal stop and go, which means my extra space, someplace, like I have my home, but maybe my home, I've got a lot going on and it's not that open to, so I've got a second one nearby where it's like, man, that's where I hang out and people come and visit and all that. See? Can be, depending on your particular circumstances. Now, most will have this in some other place where I go to another city and right there it's more open. And when I go there, others may be visiting there. Doesn't matter, right? But nonetheless, they know it's going to be other space because it's a bit customized or whatever. It just makes for more connectivity and interactivity. If you ever find yourself away from open living spaces and needing or wanting a place to stay, open meaning places that are available, if they're none available, and you need a place to stay, please feel free to knock on the nearest door and simply ask if you can stay over. Part of Nobelia's culture is to deliberately make a point of going and staying with people that you don't know. And part of the culture of you in your house, if somebody knocks on your door and says, "Can I stay?" You say, "Of course, absolutely, no problem." Or you say, "Wow, sorry, I'm full, try next door." Okay. Off you go. This interactivity, this communality. Or you might say, hey, look, I'm really struggling today. Just don't have the energy for it. Okay, no problem. Right? You don't have to accept them in, but there's an openness of wanting to, because they enjoy interacting, they enjoy connecting, and they enjoy connecting with those that they don't know. Yes? Because they trust them to be nice and wonderful people. How cool is that? All right. So think of Bina, think of your family, yes, and
Mm-hmm.
your extended family, right? They all can come, and if they said, can we stay? You say no problem, anytime, correct?
Yes.
Imagine if you lived in a whole world full of people like that. How cool would that be? If somebody knocks on your doors, you'll be all excited at a knock on your door, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Who's this now? Some new person. And you set up, you've got guest quarters, it's all organized, it's not going to be an imposition. Of course, if it is, then, well, I'm full. All right, next. It's not an issue. They don't have to stay with you specifically. But this openness, and it's encouraged, especially for aspirants. At least in the first couple of years as an aspirant, you are absolutely encouraged to almost never stay at home. Yes, you've got a base where you may come back to every couple of weeks or so, right? Just as a core place, but you really are encouraged to basically every couple of days move to the next place, so that you interact with as many as possible. Because when you hear the same points of awareness and understanding and moreness from a variety, you really get to absorb it rather than just hearing it from one constant source. Yes. Yeah. It's a very big
Yes.
shift, very big difference. And just that openness too. And of course, your skills of being. Yes, because people aren't all the same. They are very, very individual, which means that you need to practice your appropriateness skills. I coming into your home, and they take this as a culture, right? I'm the guest, you the host. As guest, I have responsibilities. As host, I have responsibilities. Yes, right? It's very fluid, it's very dynamic, and it's geared towards maximum joy for everybody, right? So the host is going to make every effort to make sure I'm comfortable, but as a guest, I'm going to make every effort to not impose as well. See, it's a delicate balance, but it's a joyful, very open, exquisite balance, which means that in Biala's house, I have to pay it. Sorry, in Bina's house, I have to pay attention to what's important to Bina. When I hear the muazzin, okay, I better shut up, right? Right, Bina?
Yes.
See? But when I go to Lindsay's house, okay, or Norma's house, muazzin not an issue. See? It's different. But, in Norma's place, well, there's Petal. I better pay attention to Petal. I can't be ignoring Petal. Petal is a part of Norma's household, very important member of Norma's household. Yes. Very important. Very important. So now in other words, you need to practice capital H hearing and perception and understanding and perspective shifting every time you're a guest. Every experience requires you to be different. Yes. How brilliant is that for extending your ability to be more? Yeah. That fluidity, that adaptability. Every time you're a guest, you are practicing appropriateness. Correct? And when I'm the host, now I get to be me, and I get to institute and say, hey, this is my house. You do this way in my house. Okay. If I don't like it, I can leave. Yeah. You see my point? Now, you're not going to be really like kind of silly about this, but nonetheless, there are some things. Okay. Some people will say, well, take off your shoes. Okay. In America, this is like some people do it, some don't. In other countries, or cultures, it's a culture wide thing, but certainly in places like America or South Africa or England, it's not cultural. It's not all over, right? So, okay, in your house, that's what you ask. I remember going to somebody's house one time, and I didn't know this was their deal. And man, I'd been working really hard, and it was long. It was after a long weekend, and my feet were very hot and sweaty. I said, "Hey, I'm gonna take my shoes off. You're gonna smell my socks and my feet." I said, all right, it's up to you. You want to take that chance? Okay, they said, no worries. Okay. I didn't think it was appropriate to take it off. I mean, like I said, my feet were very hot and sweaty. I thought it was better than that to have the walking with the shoes than with my feet. But all right, appropriateness. Yeah. So you got to change and adapt.
Yes.
But at least I said it to them, because I thought, like, you sort of forcing me to do something that is fine. Okay, I respect your things, but just know there's a price to it. And they were quite happy with the price. It didn't bother them. All right. But it was interesting. It just makes you think a bit, right, about appropriateness. That we tend to insist sometimes, but we don't always think of all of the ins and outs of it, right? So this whole point of staying in other people's houses, it's a big deal. And of course, one of the key things is like food. If you come into my house, I'm asking you what you would like to eat. Some people don't do that, but this is very common on Nobelia. That I go and visit. I've done this many times. I go to visit, and whatever they eating, you got to eat. Whether this is something that you can eat or not, or regularly eat or like to eat, they don't care. Well, we love it, and there you go. You know. But on Nobelia, eating, they love to eat together, but they are very considerate as a culture about eating preferences, right? So somebody will say, I don't care, I'm an omnivore, whatever you got, I'm eating, no problem. Somebody like me will say, I'm a very particular diet. All right, I'm very simple and plain. Um, what if it's all the same to you, I'll be happy to make my own. Okay, go ahead. There's whatever, make find your stuff, right? And if I can't, I'll order in what I need. There's an openness to it that you're not going to be thought of as peculiar if you got a particular diet, right? And some people will, when they go visiting, they will bring their own particular stuff with them, right? Their own spicing, their own stuff. It's not uncommon. But because you have access to things very quickly, to order stuff is not a problem, whatever you need. Yeah. So they're just saying that, they take real close care about considerations like food, because food is a
Yes,
very
like for me,
precise
halal
thing.
food. Yes.
Exactly. Right, right. Halal, kosher, but I don't mean only in terms of that type of thing. I also mean it in terms of taste. Yes. Like spicy food. Bina, I was just saying, you back? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I'm saying, it's not only things like halal and kosher, it's also things like spiciness. Like you
Yes.
typically,
Also that.
typically, right, right. Typically, your food is almost always spiced. Yes. Typically, my
Yes.
food is never spiced. Salt and pepper,
Yes.
this is it. Right? Maybe so for me,
Yes.
spicy food is a thing. It's a bit of an issue. You wouldn't even what I
Yes.
find spicy. You wouldn't even co- seriously spell like that. There's hardly any spice in there, right? So this is a consideration. But I mean, if you eating what is just mild spice to you, I can't eat it. It's unpleasant for me, right? But it's just like normal for you. It's not even spicy. It's just normal. So we have to be very considerate. I mean, my steak could
Yeah.
be very miserable if you don't take that into consideration. And of course, because the new nobility are so massively considerate, they do take this in, right? So they always have space. Like within every kitchen, there's a little like a guest kitchen, right? Where it's like, okay, there you go. The fridge is open and it's it. You order in what you might make your own food, no problem, right? And for me, like I'm saying, I'll just get some bread and cheese and tomato, and there we go. I'm happy as a clam. I'm making my sandwich. I can eat sandwiches every day. It's not a problem, right? Or I just order takeout and whatever, you eating your weird spicy food and I'm having, burger and fries. Doesn't matter. I'm eating with you.
I'm having
It's
my
not
weird burger and fry. Yes.
exactly. And yes, I might say, look, can I try some of this? Yeah, you give me a little bit and you put a little bit on a small plate and I'll nibble at it. "Ew, sorry, but you see what I mean? It's part of the experience. I'm not going to be blind to this, but it's as appropriate, obviously, right? There's a balance to it, right? But it's about consideration. It's about prime consideration. Furthermore, if you make your guest uncomfortable and unhappy, I don't know, then it spoils your happiness too, right? You want your guests to be happy. So they just take this to the extreme, is my point. But on the other hand, too, they as a guest, I'm very fluid, I'm very flexible, I'm very adaptable, and I live with stuff, right? Okay, and you will go with it as you can, right? You're very fluid and flexible. Right? All the dwellings have guest courses or some means to accommodate guests. It's welcomed, more than welcomed, encouraged. It's a part of the culture, right? Because as an aspirant, for one thing, it's you said, hey, this is what you do. Why? Because if you're going to actually become a new noble, you have to be nominated. You can't say it's not something that you go and you write a test, and it's not like you can become an accountant. It's not the same thing. You get nominated, and some never get nominated. That's it. You just never got nominated. You haven't gotten to the point where, and in order to be nominated, I haven't fixed the number yet, but just for argument's sake, it's like 1,000 people have to nominate you. 1,000. Do you even know 1,000 people that really know you? Yes. When you go through the list of people you'll say, yeah, I know 1,000 people. But do those 1,000 people know you? No, right? They don't really know you well enough to nominate you for something like this, right? That's maybe
Mm.
your family and your close friends, a dozen or two or three dozen at the utmost. But if you have
Yes.
because to nominate somebody, you really have to know them. This is a profound responsibility. Yeah. So I can't just nominate you if I don't know you. I met you once and I liked you. I can't nominate. No, I have to really know you, which means that you have to really make an effort for people to know you. At least 1,000, right? It's a big deal. Look at Norma's comment. Can you see it, Yamina?
Oh.
Look on screen. Look at screen where I highlighted in the cursor there. Genius. Norma is a very peculiar genius, but too marvelous, Norma. I know 999 says Norma, not 1,000. I know 999. You're almost there, Norma. You're almost there, almost there. But at least though, and the reason for this is because being a new noble, as you representing this entire culture, and the culture is also, the corporation. It's a big. You're representing a lot of things. You're representing an ideal, a moreness. You become a representative, and this is a very serious business. A lot involved in it, and therefore, you don't want people coming out, little cliques forming, for instance, and these are my cronies and my buddies. Well, not that this is going to be something that might happen in your nobility, but hey, I'm just biased because you're my friend, and I'm blind to your nonsense. Yeah. So by spreading it out so wide, you make sure that those that do attain this are so for real, right? And I mean, I might love you to bits, but privately, deep in my heart, I don't really think that I can nominate you. But you ask me, oh, did you nominate me? Well, I don't want to say no, so I nominate you because I don't want to say no. See? So, but of course, me, that might just be me now and a few of your other close friends. But it's like when people write books, right? And they say, oh, my book is great. Well, how do you know my book is great? Well, everybody I gave it to loved it. Well, who did you give it to? Well, I gave it to my mother, I gave it to my father, my sister, my brother. Yeah. And then, of course, their book doesn't sell. Yeah. This is an actual real thing that happens on a regular basis. Yeah. My mom's my greatest fan syndrome. It's even got a name. It's too funny. It's too amazing. Just because the people that love you think your book is great doesn't mean it is great. They biased. Yeah. So this applies to how you are as a person in this context. That's why spreading it out so big, you make you and those that are super close to you a small percentage of that 1,000, right? So it doesn't matter that you don't have people getting there artificially. Yeah. It's a very cool system. Yeah. What do you think? Lindsay, I'm keen to hear from you, Lindsay. I'm keen to hear from you. Share whatever comes up in you, however it's
Yes.
connected to what's
Yes.
going on with you personally. Share, share. Right. So this interactivity is, there's a purpose to it. That's a point to it. Plus, if I'm getting to know at least 1,000 people well, and if I stay with you for a weekend or a week, yeah, I'm getting to know you fairly well, or at least the group that's there, right? And I may never see you again, but it's memorable enough that I can remember you. Yeah. So I can say, all right. But usually you're going to try and connect to people. Yes, it's very cool system, Norma. Very, very cool. Um, and the point of this also is to ensure the depth of substantiation and validation of the concepts that they are living by, right? So there's not so in the entire new nobility, nothing is written down that says this is what you must be, this is what you must be. No, you
Mm.
learning it and through living it, but you're not learning it from one source because for me, I may be, for instance, take me personally, I may be a bit biased towards emphasizing capital H hearing. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, now you may get an idea that the whole entire thing of nobility is all about hearing because that's what you hear from me. But that's just my thing, or it's maybe my thing at the time that you connecting with me. Yes. But you asking for what is a lifetime to be shared in a short time. I can't share my whole lifetime with you. So you only get what I'm currently most focused and involved in. But when you go to the next person you stay with, you get what they focused in. Now, that may also be the same thing. But over time, you are going to get the lifetime shared in a focused way with you. Yes. You are going to get the whole variety. Yeah. And you're going to get to understand where you're missing, and then you'll ask about that and you'll get to know all of it, right? And you'll be able to have those connections and put it together. And this ensures not only that each member has the entirety of the culture absorbed, not just particular parts of it, but also ensures that whenever you go, you discuss it, you share it, you more it, and you hearing the same things from multiple perspectives. And you say, oh, but you know what? I was staying over at Fine's place, and Fine said this. Oh, I never thought of that before. Yeah, you know what? I think I need to have a conversation with Fine. I think he's missing something here. You see? And it stays alive, right? It grows. And that person will then very much say, oh, you know what? Fine. Either this aspirant misunderstood you, or I think that you've gotten kind of most of it, but there's an extra point I want to share with you. Right. Lindsay says, each person brings different aspects out of you as well because they inspire you or you inspire them in ways most likely unknowingly. Exactly, Lindsay. Exactly,
Yes.
exactly, exactly. When I go hang out with Bina, I get this connection to grace and beautifulness and fluidity and consideration, and it's a different mindset. When I go stay with Norma, yes, I get that too, but I get Norma's peculiar humor and wonderful magical humor, right? Everyone has different things. So yes, I'm interacting differently with Bina when I'm in her environment than I am with Norma. Now when the two are together, you get a blend of it, and it's like colors blending, right? And we get this magical moreness. So yes, this is the point of it, because we tend to, in our lives, when you really look
Yes.
at most people's lives, how many people do you interact fully with? Most people, it's less than it's single digits, right? Very, very few.
Yeah.
Very, very
Yes.
few. But when we can extend that, and that's another point of doing these lives. If somebody comes regularly to these lives, yeah, Bina and I, we are sharing our fullness, we are sharing our moreness, and you can get to interact with us at whatever amount of moreness, fullness of yourself you wish to share, right? You can hold back, you can share it all, it's up to you. But you have this opportunity to share more and connect more. And we likewise, if somebody does do that, we get the opportunity to experience others and share our fullness with others and connect to their fullness, their moreness. It's a massive point. I mean, this part of the culture is a huge huge deal with massive consequences. Yeah, it's a huge big deal. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, right. So life on Nobelia, an incredible experience, simple yet complex, profound freedom and fluidity, yet also a comforting stability and familiarity pervaded it all. But there's more, so much more. Nobelia is full of surprises. Now, those raffle places, some of them are to be in the desert. There's a big story about this where Biella and a friend later we're going to get to meet in the next chapter. It's not in this book, it's in one of the other books, right? It's called The Consolidation. It's a whole big long thing. Anyway, but Biella has won the time in this desert where it's them and them alone. It's a whole big desert valley, right? So it's not always about community. Sometimes you want to be alone. Now she takes a Lumineer with her, but she could have gone on her own too. So there's also this understanding that sometimes you do also need alone time, right? Yes, it's a very communal culture, but being alone and having alone time is also a big part of it. Yeah. And there are many activities that you will do where, that like, you go mountain climbing or whatever, surfing, sailing, I know, whatever stuff that are solitary experiences, right? It's built into the culture as well, right? It's not all about community. You have to have that balance, obviously. It's about appropriateness. Right? To the officers with us, Biella encouraged. At this rate, we'll never make it. She laughed. It didn't matter. But they do have an arrangement for Biella is now committed telling the origin story, right? And after the registration, they're going to go there. They entered the cliff at the first opening they came to and found themselves in a hallway, not overly large. Is this someone's home? Ursula asked, feeling like an intruder, still not used to the openness on Nobelia. The hallway looked exactly like one of those mansions in historical stories, beautifully decorated with rich dark wood, sconces, candelabras, torcheries, and other furniture, all perfectly placed to create a feeling of welcoming comfort. Biella pointed to one of the doors. The exquisite calligraphy of the sign read, Administration. These are the officers? Comelius asked with astonished surprise, but soon caught himself. Smiling, he said, I don't know why I'm still surprised with anything here, and chuckled to himself. He noticed transport and quarters on two of the other doors, right? Just, it's all connected, in other words, by implication. Biella and Ursula were already entering through the admin door. The admin office, a gorgeous study, right? Not some stuffy bureaucracy, boring and blank and, generic. No, no. Luscious plants and art decorated a large space. A simple but beautiful wood desk at the far corner near the balcony. And that incredible view. A new noble behind the desk stood up and smiled a huge welcoming smile, but said nothing, simply enjoying their enjoyment. Making space, part of the capital H hearing program. One huge section of it is called Making Space. Capital M, capital S. Right there was making space. Those new nobles walking by while Ursula and Comelius were enjoying that incredible view for the first time, they made space by withholding their awareness, right, retracting their awareness as they went by, making space for that enjoyment to have its own space. Very, very powerful. Very, very powerful and incredible. Very, very powerful. Brilliant, 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 Veena. Brilliant, brilliant. Right. Simply enjoying the enjoyment. Biella, the new noble, half asked, half knew. Word had evidently spread. Biella is unique in the new nobility. She has a very unusual history. She came to know of the new nobility long before she met them in a way that was kind of ahead of her world. So Biella has a very, very unique and unusual story and life and everything, So Biella is they don't really have celebrities, but because her story is so unusual, she's known to pretty much everybody on Nobelia, right? Because of this. Well, they would all know her, know of her and know her story, right? And so that's why when this now, the her her friends, the aspirants, Nora and those kind of that she hangs out with more regularly. Um, and in this story, they hang out more with Biella because we want some continuity. If I had it more in the regular way, and every second paragraph you're meeting new people, it would be very difficult to write, and you wouldn't get the sense of the people because you would only be touching on them a little bit. So it's a somewhat artificial that she's hanging out with this group a bit more. But it's also that now she's with the delegates, and so there's this that it makes a bit more sense, right? So it's appropriate for her and a certain group of her friends, right? Because you got lots more than that, but it's consistency that they hang out, right? So it's a bit unusual, but it's also not quite fully representative, but nonetheless, Biella is very unusual. So when she said, "Oh, I'm going to go and accept my nomination," word spread very quickly, and also, of course, Nora and Aki and Marco and Kaljun and all of them, they going out and telling everybody Biella's going to tell the origin story. So and part of that they'll say, "Oh, and she's going to accept the nobility." Right? So Ursula Comelius, the new noble, greeted them all. And his word is spread. He knows what's going on. Well, also you look them up. They're delegates, so you'll know. It's part of his job. It's my great pleasure to register you all. Now, this is a subtle point here, right? We need to pay attention. Who's going to the admin offices to register? Bina? Bina?
Yes, who is going
If,
to?
if yeah, if you asked Nora or Aki or Marco or Kaljun or one of the group, right, when they left, who was on their way to go and register? Nora would say Biella and Ursula.
Yes.
But look at what the new noble says. It's my great pleasure to register you all. He's including Comelius.
Hmm.
He doesn't know. He's a bit out of the loop. The fact that they're all three there, it's a fair assumption. But he says it to you all could apply to just the two of them, right? Just be his way of saying it, right? But it's an inadvertent assumption here. And he's not assuming, it's just the nature of the circumstance. Comelius happened to just get kind of included because of the way things happened, right? It's the universe. It's attunement helping Comelius. Now, the two of them go in and he comes in slightly afterwards, and then the noble gestured towards an identity scanner. There's no real need to do this here. You are scanning already. It's just a bit of, giving context. But this is a close range scanner to know that you're actually here to avoid accidental registrations. It's just like technical stuff. There, please, Comelius. The new noble pointed to the exact spot. Comelius had been standing closest, right? Comelius did not seem to be fully present, allowing the new noble to guide him onto the spot. So Comelius is still in his bit of funk, and he's still, yes, he is overwhelmed, but he's got all the stuff going on. So he just kind of goes along with stuff, like he's going along with going up to the admin offices. But yeah, he's just, okay, stand on the spot, all right, whatever. And he doesn't realize the implications. But it's the universe telling Comelius the thing that he's struggling with. That Comelius knows he should be doing what Ursula's doing, but he can't voluntarily do it. Yes, but here the universe is now registering him as an aspirant. Ursula was next. There you go, Ursula. She stepped onto the spot, paying close attention to Comelius. Biella, she queries a bit, right? She realizes what's happened, Ursula, right? Biella took her turn, also keeping an eye on Comelius. Of course, Biella's also noticed, right? And she broke into a giggle, and Ursula joining her, right? They realize what's happened and they can't contain themselves because they're joyful, but it's also a little bit funny, right? That Comelius, you're struggling with all of this. You said you want to, but you don't want to, and yeah, the universe has made you, but you don't even realize it just yet, right? So because now he's got an inadvertent predicament that's come about for him, right? The new noble got an inkling something was up, but took their giggling as the light in registering. So he doesn't quite know exactly why the giggling. He just assumes, well, Comelius is also coming there to do this. He doesn't quite know Comelius was in this funk and, but stressed by things and right. So this, but I wanted to make the point here to write about force of circumstance as a particular aspect of attunement, right? Sometimes with attunement, we are the ones making an effort to connect to how things are going. Force of circumstance is when the universe says, hey, you got to go this way. Yeah. And this is force of circumstance of great assistance to Comelius. He doesn't quite grasp it yet, but later on in the story, well, it takes him a long time to come to terms with this, right? He's got a ways to go still, because this is a very big deal. He's got a lifetime of habit, entrenched habit to deal with, right? Very big deal. This is the new noble now. He stepped to his console. Nearly done, nothing to it really, as you probably know already. There's not much to admin on Nobelia. It's absolutely kept to a minimum. Most of it merely dealing with the ag. In other words, on Nobelia, this stuff like doesn't matter, but you need to have a legal designation. And now, as an aspirant, your legal status changes somewhat, not entirely, but somewhat. But for Biella, it changes considerably. Because first of all, her name changes, right? She's now Biella Noble, so official last name. But also, she's now an official employee and shareholder of the New Nobility Corporation. So this, and she can make decisions on it's a big legal deal, right? In the agglomeration on Nobelia, it doesn't matter, but out in the agglomeration, it does. There you go, all done. Congratulations. Simply move into any uninhabited living spaces, plural, food, clothing, and whatever else you need. Well, that you have to figure out for yourself. Why doesn't he tell them? Why does he want them to figure it out for yourself? Because when you figure it out for yourself, you have to interact, you have to ask, and you become immersed in the thing, right? And you get to know, you get to understand better. If you tell it, it goes in one ear out the other ear. When you got to figure it out for yourself, you're going to remember it because it's important stuff, right? It's all available, of course, but to encourage new aspirants to figure everything for themselves. He doesn't say just when it comes to living to figure everything for themselves, right? Forces into action because it's hard to figure it out all on your own, right? Forces into action. He smiled mischievously. It's part of the system. There's a skill to it. There's a depth to it. There's a moreness to it. It's very powerful. And keep things ultra simple for admin. See, and those who said, well, we don't want to be having to admin you and tell you what to do. No, when it's my turn to be admin, I want it to be do as little as possible. Thank you very much. Right? Self-interest governing all this. Very sensible system. Right? That's it, grinned Ursula. That's the best bureaucracy I've ever experienced. She was delighted. A confirmation to her. Proof the new nobility truly lived and applied their perspectives in all aspects of their lives. An amazingly powerful emphasis. Yes. All right. I'll leave the rest for tomorrow. We'll end it there. Right? Because now we get onto a little separate section here. But this is important, right? That Ursula sees, wow, they don't just talk about it, they live it, right? Because she understands from there what she's had before that it's about practicality, simplicity, energy efficiency, impeccability, which is best use of energy. If you're going to have complicated admin with a lot of rules, sorry, you're not balancing what you're saying. Plus, also, this absence of rules means that the system trusts the components of the system. When you got a lot of rules, you're saying, I don't trust you to be appropriate. No rules on Nobelia, I trust you to be appropriate. What a system. What a society. There's only one law on Nobelia. That law is appropriateness. And it's registered officially as that. Out in the agglomeration, you can look up the laws for planet X, Y, Z. There's agglomeration laws, right? Like federal laws in America, and you got state laws, same thing. You got agglomeration law and you got planet laws, right? On Nobelia, when you come there in your guidebook, you say, okay, here's the law. One word, appropriateness. That's it. You have to decide what's appropriate. It makes people behave very, very, very well, by the way, when they don't know what's appropriate. It's incredible.
Yes.
It's incredible. Very powerful law. Very powerful law. When you don't know. Plus, you say, well, if I did do something, that whoever's now in charge of, taking care of this, they can decide whatever they deem to be appropriate, right? And a lot of criminals will that they're guilty, and they may even carry on and say, yeah, but you can't prove it. On Nobelia, I don't need to prove it. I suspect you're being guilty. I can sentence you to whatever. Oh, that's a very serious deal, right? You just have bad attitude. I just don't like you. Well, you're in trouble. Now, see, it makes you really, really, really consider your behavior in a very different sense. That's right. That when the consequence of your inappropriateness can be somebody else's excessive inappropriateness, that's a very dangerous thing, no? Yeah. So they don't have bad behavior from visitors, and they are, like any planet. They don't have a lot of visitors compared to other places, but they do, because Nobelia is very out of the way, and it was specifically chosen for, well, one of many reasons. But that was on the list, that to have a really incredible ecology, and it's a unique ecology. They got, dual suns, so the weather's really incredible. Blah blah blah. Anyway, lot of reasons for it. And Nobelia itself on the planet has many, many ecological features, and that all make it unique. And it was a planet where the whole was preserved. Yes, and that's very rare, where planets have an ecology that's an entire, like the whole world ecology. Anyway, there's a lot of surprises to Nobelia. It's a very large, diverse, wonderful planet. Very different. All right, we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. I have lots of things pressing on me, as Bina reminded me so skillfully and wonderfully. Any comments, Lindsay, Norma? Any comments, Bina?
Yes. I'm keen to hear from Norma and Lindsay. They have
Yes, me
something
too.
to.
Me too. Me too. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It takes time to.
Yeah. Thank you, says Norma.
Thank you, Norma.
Yeah. 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 A true pleasure, Norma. Always a pleasure sharing with you. Always a pleasure. Just you being here, just me knowing you here gives me joy. Yeah. I just simple joy, simple joy, simple joy. Lindsay may have had to leave. Lindsay's got children and stuff going on, so life is a little different. So some people can't always stay long. I love that. I love that you said hi and shared a bit, Lindsay. It's a big deal to me. It's a big deal. Really love it. I really love it. All right. On that note, we'll see you tomorrow. I'll really make an effort to come tomorrow, and we'll do the rest of this chapter, because there is the interaction. Um, well, we do get to go to the start of the origin story, not the story itself, but the setting. Right? They go there, they sit down, their preparation, and in that preparation, where stuff's getting ready, they're hanging out, preparing for the story. Um, Nora interacts very significantly with Comelius and Aki also. And that interaction is a very big deal. Very, very big deal. Yeah. There's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. All right. All right. All right. All right. And like Comelius himself said, Comelius is a bit dense, a bit woolly. He's like deliberately this way so that you can show things that otherwise you couldn't show. And so he's very useful in that sense, and he has this intent to be helpful. So his slow learning is helpful for the story, and Comelius is aware of this. Right? It's amazing. The intent, not consciously, but there. It's very powerful, very powerful. All right, see you all tomorrow. See you all
Yes.
tomorrow. All right, all
Yes.
right.
See you guys tomorrow,
And
and we will
see
be here.
you
Yes.
soon, Bina. Yes, too
Okay.
magical, too magical. All right, bye bye, everybody. Bye bye, bye bye, bye bye. And meeting